strong takes, he's got them.
He's on pace for 50 turnovers in 2 years. I'm not saying Baker's going to be bad. Baker is bad.
He's got questions that really make you think.
Why does Colin Kaepernick want to be in?
He doesn't shy away from being bold.
Both the San Francisco 49ers and the New England Patriots will lose a minimum of 3 games.
He's not afraid to speak the truth.
Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. What the hell is the national media losing their mind?
Now over to Simon's 11 for NFL Monday.
For those that have been here, for those that have watched the clips, for those that just love football, there was a lot that happened. We could discuss so many of the big games. We could discuss the Patriots being back. We could discuss the 49ers' terrible loss. Packers, Bears, Texans, Titans. Patty Mahomes is Patty Mahomes. Eli Manning getting sent off like a Hall of Famer after throwing 3 interceptions. One of the worst Vegas beats I've seen in my life. The Raiders ending on a terrible note in Oakland. Baker Mayfield being just bad Baker Mayfield. But how do we start anywhere besides my man, your man, everyone's favorite QB1 of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jameis heckin' Winston? This man threw for 300. 3 bills. This man threw for 3 bills and a half. Jameis Winston, I have said it. I have tweeted it. I have said it for 3-4 weeks in a row now. Jameis Winston is everything the NFL Sunday Ticket was credited for. I live in Wisconsin, in Packer country. I'm a fan of the 49ers, California country. You know who's never on my TV nationally? Jameis Winston. You know who's worth the NFL Sunday Ticket? Jameis Winston. My man went out and threw for 3 bills in the first half against, a terrible Detroit Lions defense, right? Let's not build it up like he's doing this against the New England Patriots, right? But the best part about Jameis is you never know what you're going to get. And I don't know if I'm more amazed that Jameis Winston threw for 3 bills and a half, threw for 4 touchdowns, or that he only had 1 interception. But how do we not start with Jameis? Yo, Breezy, what's going on? How you doing? Hopefully all is well, Breezy. Hopefully all is well. Good Jameis shows up yesterday. Next week, I'm rooting for crab legs. They play the Texans next week, don't they, legs? I'm telling you, he is so fun to watch. Everybody rags on Jameis, and don't get me wrong, I understand. He deserves all the criticism in the world. Like, I get that. But my man went out and threw for 300 and a half. Jameis Winston, his last 2 games, has now thrown for 914 yards and 8 touchdowns, plus a rushing touchdown, chat. 9 touchdowns and 914 yards in 2 games. Jameis Winston against the Indianapolis Colts. 33 of 45, 456, 5 total touchdowns, and there's the Jameis Winston we know, 3 interceptions. Jameis Winston against Detroit. 458, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. 900 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2 weeks. It just, the man's got 24 interceptions on the year, but he's already thrown for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns. How many of your sports talk shows today on the national radio, on the local radio, besides in Tampa Bay, Florida, are going to start off with some Jameis Winston love? Not many. That's why you come to the C-Bon's 11 show. You get your weekly Jameis Winston love, baby. I thought about just bypassing Drew Brees. It is very difficult to bypass what Drew Brees did. But Michael Thomas went out there again last night and had another 12 catches, another 128 yards, and another touchdown. In 2019, in 14 games played, Michael Thomas now has 133 receptions, 1,552 yards, 8 touchdowns, and has not lost a fumble. I get it, and I've said it before. This game doesn't change anything. I don't have a vote. I'm a little peon. If I had a vote for NFL MVP, it's Michael Thomas. And I don't even think there's I don't even think there's a second chance, I would think. I get what Lamar is doing. We are witnessing one of the most dominant NFL seasons from a position than we have ever seen. This goes back to what Patty Mahomes did last year, what LT did, what Priest Holmes did. The year that Michael Thomas is having cannot be understated. Now, I hear a lot of people on the national media talking, well, Lamar's the MVP because he's a quarterback, but how do you not vote for Michael Thomas as Offensive Player of the Year? Now, I'm one of these people that I think, what the hell's the difference? If MVP was most valuable player as it's supposed to be, Lamar Jackson wouldn't win it. It would be Aaron Rodgers literally every year. If it was most valuable player, how do you not pick Jimmy Garoppolo from the 49ers? He went 5-0 for the Niners. Got hurt all year last year. They won 3 games. Comes back this year. They've won 11. Obviously, he's proven his value. Most valuable player always goes to the person with the best stats. So now that we have a season where Lamar Jackson really doesn't have the best stats, averaging like 230 yards total per game. I'm sorry, 280 yards per total per game. We have a man that is going to break the all-time single-season receptions record and the all-time single-season receiving yards record in the same season, and is going to be on pace to get double-digit touchdowns. I will literally fight to tooth and nail. I get it's not going to happen. I 100% understand that. I have still not come to grips with that fact because I think it's absolutely bull honky. But Michael Thomas should be your MVP for 2019. And I'll even go as far as saying if the NFL media really wants to get it right, and they really, really love Lamar, as a lot of people do and should. We've had split MVPs before. Barry and Brett Favre won it because Barry had a dominant year. If you're not willing to go on a ledge and give Michael Thomas the MVP for 2019, you dang well at least better give him a share of it. I honestly don't even know how to approach this conversation because I don't want to sound insensitive, I guess. It is 2019. I don't want to be insensitive. But why the hell does the NFL keep allowing Josh Gordon in the NFL? Like, this man needs, like, actual help. Whatever the NFL is doing for him to get help is not working. It's one thing if it was just PEDs, but it's also substance abuse on top of it. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. And again, this is why I don't know how to really approach the subject itself. But then Pete Carroll goes out and says, our heart goes out to Josh to have to face this again. The fact he's up against it and all, it poses a great challenge to him. Fortunately, he'll have the benefit of all the league's resources to support him and to help him. And we'll wish him the very best in taking care of business. It was very unfortunate. This man's back is against the wall because this man put his back against the wall. He can't stop doing drugs. He can't stop doing PEDs. And obviously, all of the league's resources to support him and help him are not working. He has been in the league far too long to not understand that, hey, just stop doing drugs. And the NFL has to realize, hey, what we're doing for this man is not working. Maybe we should just stop letting him in the NFL and send him to some resort somewhere. Get better. I don't know. I've never been in like substance abuse or anything like that, so I don't know. But from what I see in the movies, it's all like a resort you go to and you just don't do drugs for a while. But to me, the fact that Peach Carroll, ayo, the fact that Pete Carroll has the nerve to say he's up against it and it poses a great threat to him. Well, what the hell did the Seattle Seahawks do to help him out? Obviously, they did nothing. Now, this is his second team. I mean, he's only 28, right? He's only 28. I don't know. I have a very hard time feeling sympathy for somebody that knows the repercussions because he's been through them 5 or 6 or 7 times, but still can't stop himself. Like, I guess maybe it's the way I'm made up mentally, but like, there's some things more important in life than football. And one of those things might be making sure that you can take care of it, because I'm assuming for somebody that's addicted to drugs, not playing football and being suspended probably isn't good for his mental health. And then Pete Carroll goes on to say, I feel for him in that regard because he was in a really close-knit group here, and he fit really well into the team. He's been through this before, and I know just from talking to him in the short time he was with us, he does understand where the help comes from and the support that's out there. And he does utilize the resources that the league offers. If he was in such a tight-knit group, then where the heck were they? Like, where was this man's support group? Now, I get it. He really didn't do much for the Patriots. He really didn't do much for Seattle. I mean, Seattle's got Lockett, and they've got Metcalf. Seattle's going to be fine without Josh Gordon. I just have a very, very hard time feeling sympathy for a guy that's going to be suspended for substance abuse once again. In the NFL season is so wide open. I have 9 teams that I think could win the Super Bowl. Obviously, number 1, my Super Bowl favorite, is the Baltimore Ravens. So you've got the Baltimore Ravens, I think, are the clear cut. At this point, they are the clear cut. They're 6-1 at home, 6-1 on the road. They do have the undeserved MVP, as it should be Michael Thomas, on their team. I think you go down to the San Francisco 49ers as my second favorites to win the Super Bowl and come out of the NFC. And this is going to shock a lot of people. On my Super Bowl chance ladder, I actually have the Kansas City Chiefs as the third best, in my opinion, the third best chances to win the Super Bowl. It's hard to pick anybody from the NFC. I think the Niners are still the best team in the NFC. I think the Niners are still the second best team in the NFL when healthy, and they will be healthy come playoff time. They've proven they can win on the road. They're 6-1 on the road, including going into New Orleans and beating them on, I guess what you'd call almost the last second play. The Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC, I believe the AFC playoffs are so much more weak, as I believe the NFC runs 5 deep. And this isn't even like counting the Dallas Cowboys, who, when, as we discussed yesterday, when Jason Garrett takes his head out of his behind, gives the ball to Zeke, they are arguably one of the best wrestlers in the NFC. If the Dallas Cowboys win a playoff game or two, I won't be shocked. I'm going to be concerned for those other teams. But if you're telling me that Dallas beats the 49ers or beats the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to be like, wow, didn't see that coming. But I'm not going to be shocked. On paper, the Dallas Cowboys arguably have the best roster in the NFL. The problem is they have an overrated quarterback who, again, shouldn't need to throw the ball 50 times. You let him pass the ball 25 times. And one of the worst coaches in the NFL. Again, he takes his head out of his behind like he did last week. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't think, are a Super Bowl contender. I would not be shocked if they won a game or two in the playoffs. Fourth, we've got the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints could have home field advantage. And if the New Orleans Saints do not have to travel to Lambeau, to Seattle, or to San Francisco, I really like their chances to come out of the NFC. However, you've got teams like the Niners who have gone in there and beat them, and teams like the Packers who can play with them on turf. They have a very good shot. I think of the NFC, Seattle has the next best odds to get to a Super Bowl. Again, they could have home field advantage. They could have that one seed, and we all know Seattle's got that home field advantage. They have lost 2 games at home this year. One of them was to the Ravens. I'm hoping they'll lose another one, last game of the year, to the Niners. Seattle is also 7-1 on the road this year, including a win in San Francisco. And you're like, wow, we've literally done 6 teams already. We haven't even got to the New England Patriots. Well, New England comes in 7th. The New England Patriots come in 7th. Or, I'm sorry, they come in 6th. My apologies. They do come in 6th. I can't even read my own writing. I do think Kansas City and Baltimore will be the NFC Championship game. I think they'll be the 1-2 seeds. I do think New England is better than Buffalo. Come playoff time, you're going to get the best of Tom Brady. However, I do not see them winning more than one playoff game and going on the road to beat either Kansas City or Baltimore, if that indeed is the case, which I believe it will be. And I think this might be the first year you see New England really struggle. And I'm telling you, if they win one game, or if they lose in the first or second round and don't make the conference championship, the national media is going to lose their minds, and the sky is going to fall on Tom Brady. He's going to be a free agent. All hell is going to break loose if the New England Patriots, 1, get a wild card, and 2, don't make the conference championship. Now we move on to number 7. And I believe that's the Green Bay Packers. The Packers defense is pretty horrid. They have a good pass rush. And I actually was thinking in my head, do I even consider them a Super Bowl contender? And then as soon as I thought that, my head immediately went to, they have Aaron freaking Rodgers. I don't care if he hasn't played well this year. I don't care if he hasn't looked like vintage Aaron Rodgers. They have Aaron Rodgers. They have 11 wins, a chance at home field advantage. In the frozen tundra, they're a Super Bowl contender. I have them low on the list, but they're a Super Bowl contender. If they get their pass rush, they have a chance to beat anybody. If the Smith brothers can get pressure. If they cannot get pressure, that defense is going to get tore apart for 30 points, and I don't think their offense is good enough this year to score 30 on teams like Seattle and New Orleans and San Francisco and Minnesota. Which leads me to 8 out of 9, the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings do have a chance. They have a very, very outside chance to win the division. It's not going to happen. Sorry, Vikings fans. As much as I love you to win your last 2 games, the Packers are not going to trip up and lose to the Lions with everything on the line in the last week. And we discussed yesterday how that game, Minnesota, Green Bay, next weekend, means absolutely nothing to the Packers. But it does allow the Vikings to potentially get that 5 seed and play Dallas instead of playing Green Bay on the road in the first week of the playoffs. Minnesota boasts a decent defense, not great, not what we're used to seeing. But Minnesota has one of the best balanced attacks in the NFL. At any given week, Kirk Cousins could throw for 350 yards to Thielen, Diggs, and Rudolph. And at any given week, Dalvin Cook could bust off a $175 on you. Cook is banged up. They're going to need him getting healthy. But the gauntlet that you have to run through for the NFC with San Francisco, with Dallas, with New Orleans, with Green Bay, with Seattle, it's going to be too much. That's why I have the Minnesota Vikings 8 out of 9. Sorry, Bills fans. I'm sorry. I know we just talked about how you could potentially win the division. But of the 9 Super Bowl contenders, I believe Buffalo comes in 9th. They just don't have the offensive firepower to handle teams like Kansas City and Baltimore. The defense is good enough. I don't think the defense is great enough to stop them. I still do think I would not be shocked if Buffalo got to the Super Bowl because, again, they have the ability to win on the road. They have an amazing running game, and their defense is top-notch. I just don't think Allen is good enough at this stage to get them to a Super Bowl, but I would not be shocked. So I do believe 2019 poses the most wide-open Super Bowl I think I've ever seen, which is kind of crazy because everyone thinks there's this dominant team in Baltimore. But I'm sorry. I think they're beatable if you have the right personnel to contain Lamar. Sorry as I choke. But that leaves 3 teams. The Houston Texans, either the Steelers or the Titans, and the Dallas Cowboys. I believe none of those teams have any shot to make the Super Bowl. I'd see Dallas potentially winning their first game, but I don't see any of those 3 teams having any shot of winning multiple games, let alone 4 games for a Super Bowl. Again, I wouldn't be completely shocked if Dallas won 2. I would be absolutely flabbergasted if they made it to the Super Bowl, let alone won the dang thing. But I think as NFL fans, we should all be super excited that we get to witness the most wide open and probably the most fun NFL playoffs that we've seen in a very, very long time.